Chappelle was decapitated in front of us. Then when he made $500 million, they said even though his contract said he should get half of it, they said he made too much for the contract to be valid.
Did your wife and children know where you were going?
No.
No, nobody knew.
No. I bounced.
Now, that sounds a little crazy.
It's not crazy because the situation kind of warranted it.
The worst thing to call somebody is crazy is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
Most people think Dave just walked away from a $50 million deal because he couldn't handle the pressure. But that's not the real story. According to Katt Williams and a few documents that have resurfaced, the number wasn't $50 million. It was closer to $500 million. That's $500 million. That's what Chappelle's show made for Comedy Central. And according to the contract, Dave was supposed to get half. But when he tried to collect, suddenly the story changed. Suddenly Oprah is calling him paranoid on her show, and suddenly they're offering him a lowball contract like they're doing him a favor. And when he wouldn't play along, they didn't just take his show. They tried to take him out.
He made $500 million and they offered him 50? Yes. And he said, what do you think my fans are going to say when they find out you offered me 10% of what I made you? And they said, your fans will believe that you're a crazy crackhead by the time you get home.
In the early 2000s, TV looked nothing like it does now. Reality shows were starting to take over. Sitcoms were dying out, and cable networks were desperate for something fresh. And that's when Dave steps in with Chappelle Show. Man, that show changed the air in the room. Every week, Dave was serving up social commentary disguised as sketch comedy. He was calling out racism, government, Hollywood, all while making people cry laughing.
Excuse me, not sure we're in the right place. We're looking for Clayton Bigsby.
Well, look no further, fella. You found me.
Clayton Bigsby, the author?
What, you don't think I can write them books? Just because I'm blind don't mean I'm dumb.
How could this have happened? A black white supremacist.
What about people who say you're only interested in the Middle East for oil?
What? Huh? Oil? Who said something about oil, bitch? You cooking? The only way I open the studio up now, y'all gotta walk uptown to the Bronx and get breast milk from a Cambodian immigrant. I only drink the finest breast milks.
Dave wasn't afraid to make everybody uncomfortable, including the people signing his checks. And yet, the show was a gold mine. DVDs were flying off the shelves. Comedy Central's ratings exploded. The network made so much money from Chappelle that it essentially built its brand around him. But here's the thing. While the show was generating hundreds of millions, Dave was only seeing a fraction of it. And that's where the story starts to twist. Because once the money hit a certain level, the game changed. And so did the rules. Dave's contract didn't allow him at the time to speak out on what was really happening. But that's when Katt Williams stepped in. According to Katt, the Chappelle Show didn't just make a few million for Comedy Central. It pulled in $500 million, $500 million. And Dave's contract said he'd get half of whatever the show made. That means he should have been sitting on around $250 million. But when the dust settled, Comedy Central told him something wild, that he made too much for his original contract to even be valid anymore. So imagine that. You create the biggest show on their network, they swim in profit off your name, and when it's time to pay you, they start moving the goalposts. That's when the now famous $50 million offer shows up. Except it wasn't some brand new deal. It was hush money. It was their way of saying, take this little piece and keep working, or walk away with nothing. And Dave wasn't stupid. He saw the trap, because once he signed that, they'd own not just the show, but his image, his words, his mind. And you already know when artists push back, when they dare to demand what they're owed, that's when the character assassinations start. Like Katt said, they assassinate your character before they assassinate your contract. And Katt's not exaggerating any of this. Those old enough to remember when this happened know that after that contract drama with Comedy Central, Dave escaped to Africa without even telling his family where he was going. Think about it. Why would he do something so drastic unless he thought he was in danger? Actual physical danger. In fact, when Dave returned from Africa and appeared on the Oprah show, he revealed that he wasn't just called crazy. He was pressured to take antipsychotic medication.
So I got ahead of schedule,
and I bounced. And I didn't tell anybody where I was going. The whole time, they're trying to convince me I'm insane. They were trying to get me to take psychotic medication. Yeah. Like I'm sitting around, you know, I was stressed out, but the people that were telling me I was insane, I believe that they knew what was going on. So, this was troublesome.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not taking this medicine, man, because I know these people be trying to control you or maybe discredit you. I was afraid, like, you know.
But you were stressed out. That's why.
There's no question. But it's very stressful for someone to constantly walk behind you and say, you're insane. Oh, hey, how about this? I showed up to work the first week, and where my office used to be, they built a wall there.
Why?
I didn't know why. But it came out later that they were like, well, they said you wanted it. I don't want to be walled up in the office. I like hanging out.
And that's when the tone around Dave changed overnight. 1 minute, he's the hottest comedian in America. The next, he's a crazy crackhead. The media suddenly had this script they were all reading from. Dave Chappelle rejects $50 million. Dave Chappelle flees to Africa. Dave Chappelle suffers mental breakdown, blah, blah, blah. It was a full-blown PR operation. Not just random gossip, but coordinated damage control. Dave later said it himself. Once he started pushing back on certain skits, questioning how the show was being run, people around him started acting different. And he told Oprah that when he refused to compromise on certain roles, the narrative flipped instantly. They wanted to convince him he was the problem.
Why'd you walk away from $50 million?
Well, I wasn't walking away from the money.
Yeah.
I was walking away from the circumstances
Uh-huh.
that were coming with the newfound plateau.
Yeah.
It takes a while when you punch through to adjust to the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
It was completely outside of my frame of reference. I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happens, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me.
Okay.
When
you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see before, look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, they're trying to kill me.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear those stories.
And it always happens around the time in their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
No.
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy, but it's incredibly stressful.
And once that crazy label sticks, y'all, you're done. The headlines do the rest. The same thing happened to Katt, Britney, Kanye, and many others before them. And that's the same pattern every time. Push back against your handlers, get labeled unstable, then watch everything you worked for disappear. And that's actually the best case scenario. Because if the smear campaign doesn't work and the public doesn't buy the crazy label, or if you're too loved by fans to fully cancel, that's when things get darker. See, Hollywood has a way of erasing people permanently.
His son, out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that in order to control, traumatize. They want to monetize and traumatize.
And it always starts the same. A strange plane or crash, an OD, accidental drowning in a bathtub. And the sad part is, once they've already planted the seed that you're unstable, nobody even questions it. We've seen it so many times. Stars who start talking about contracts, about exploitation, about who's really running things, suddenly end up gone. And it's always wrapped up neatly in some tragic headline.
A lot of my publishing, a lot of my royalties, my mechanicals, they have all pretty much been stolen.
So when you think about Dave, the fact that he not only walked away from that $50 million contract, but fled to another continent without even telling his wife, you know, the pressure behind the scenes was even worse than what he'd been told. Because you don't do something like that unless you fear for your life. So the fact that Dave walked away alive is a miracle when you think about it. We've already seen how the system works. Smear your name, gaslight you, push pills, manipulate contracts, and try to take everything you built. Most artists in that position fold. Some get trapped. Some never come back. Dave refused to play along. He saw the game, called their bluff, and walked away. He walked out of the fire and eventually made a grand comeback. But there's another side to this story. Some fans who followed Dave from the Chappelle Show days say he's not the same anymore, and his comedy today, it's just different. It's more cautious. He rarely goes after the system the way he used to, and most of the time he punches down more than up.
I am not saying that to say that trans women aren't women. I am just saying that those they got.
But maybe that's part of surviving. Maybe the system doesn't just try to ruin you financially, it tries to soften you, to make sure that when you come back, you don't burn the house down. Dave managed to bounce back, but at what cost? His principles kept him alive, but his comedy, that fearless, unfiltered voice that shook America during the Chappelle Show era, it's just not there anymore. So yeah, Dave's back, the empire is still his, and he's rich. But the Chappelle who walked away from $500 million, that version of him, the one who challenged the system without mercy, might never fully come back. Well, now I want to hear from you. Do you think Dave Chappelle's life was really in danger back then? And is that why he escaped to Africa? And what about today? Is the Dave we see on stage now the same Dave from the Chappelle Show days? Or did surviving the system change him and his comedy? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't miss out on this next story.